All right, everyone. Welcome back to the penultimate game of the Meowrathon, Tobin's Cafe, with Danny. Remember, donations can influence the game. You can see above the kitty corner what you can do, and Danny can go into a little more detail on what those things mean. And on top of that, your donations also get you entries into the raffle. The more you donate in total, the more chances you have to win. So, win-win. And on top of that, everything you donate helps cats. So, you know, that's a winner too. I'll hand it off to Danny to kind of fill you in and get everyone introduced.
Okay. Thank you, Dan. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our penultimate game of the catathon of the Meowrathon. This is going to be Thirsty Sword Lesbians, an Any nominated and Nebula winning game by April Kit Walsh. It is a game of romance and drama and found family. This particular setting is a modification of one of the core rule sets. Normally, it is the Lesbians Cafe. For this cat-themed stream, this is going to be the Tobeans Cafe, a cat cafe stuck between two worlds. First, let me introduce myself and my fellow players for this evening. My name is Danny. You can use any pronouns for me. I'm a game designer and podcaster and cat enthusiast in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You can find me on Twitter at Danny Plays RPGs. You can find the games I make at DannyMakesRPGs.itch.io. And you can hear me on Pod of Wonder, a comedy world-building podcast powered by random Wikipedia articles. Now I will throw it over to, let's say, Joe.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joe. I lost my train of thought. He, they pronouns are fine. I have no bearing in the RPG world yet. You could find me tweeting things, getting me put on a watch list at official J Blaine. There were a bunch of other things Danny said that I could mirror, but my brain is fried and I'm so sweaty I might drown before the end of the show. So pass it along to the next person.
Yeah, we'll have time for plugs at the end if your brain resolidifies by then. Let's kick it over to Al.
Hello, I'm Al Stover. You can find me on Twitter at LSWrites. I'm a fiction writer. Wrote a couple TTRPG one-shot games. I play Flint on Champions of Eclipsia, a 5e podcast that we are currently in between seasons and in between homes right now.
Okay. And Vi, why don't you pick it up?
Sure. My name is Violet Ayres, or Sparkling Vinegar. You can find my work at sparklingvinegar.bandcamp.com. That's VYNGAR. Sorry, EGAR. I don't know how to spell my own name. And you can hear the exactly one song I have uploaded that's made of a bunch of stuff I found at a Goodwill.
Nice. And lastly but not leastly, Melly.
Hi, I'm Melly. I use she, her pronouns. My brain is a little fried because I GM'd for the first time on a live stream. What was it, like 4 hours ago? Yeah, that was fun. I will be playing Marvel, the Bloody. And outside of this, I do martial arts. I practice Iaido. That's a Japanese sword drawing art. I also do resin craft. If you donate and get entered into the raffle, you can get some of my work. Eventually, I will have a store. You can also see works in progress and pictures of my cat and my healing ankle at Melly_Leah_ on Instagram.
All right. Now, going to introduce the setting a little bit, and then we'll get into our characters for the evening. So this is going to be set at the Tobeans Cafe. It is a coffee house and cat shelter It is a haven for queer people of all stripes, where you can, find community and friendship, or just be yourself without being bothered by people who have a problem with that sort of thing. There is delicious food and drink, and all of the cats in this cat cafe are magical. Yes, magic cats. This is called tailoring to your audience, people. But unfortunately, not all is well at the Tobin's Cafe, because, as I said, it is between two worlds. On one side is the Seven Roads. It is a city of industry and commerce. And there is a rich and powerful marketing firm by the name of Leverage Marketing that is always looking for the next big thing to make money off of. And they think that Tobin's might be that thing. And the other world on the other side is the Whisker Woods. It is a magical forest city, but it has currently gone through a bit of a rough patch. Its ruler, Queen Magdalena, has recently gone through a very bad and dramatic breakup. But you know what? That's in the past now. She's ready to get on with her life and back in the dating scene. And Tobin's just happens to be the perfect spot for a casual daytime date. So corporate takeovers and visiting royalty and magic cats, that's just life in the service industry at Tobin's. So I am going to be your storyteller for this evening. As Dan has said, there are ways for you to influence the game, which you can see in the corner of the stream. For a mere $1, you can give any player of your choice either advantage or disadvantage on a roll. This is a 2d6 system, so they would be rolling 3 dice. And if they had advantage, they would pick the higher numbers. And if you give them disadvantage, they will pick the lower numbers. This is a Powered by the Apocalypse game. So you're looking for a 7+ is a success, and a 6 below is effectively a failure. So bad rolls aren't, straight up nothing happens, but they do drive the story forward and put characters in messy situations and create a lot of drama. So I say donate for the disadvantage. For $5, you can introduce one of the player characters' exes into the scene. They've all got some relationship in their life that did not work, and for a mere $5, you can dig up that old drama and throw it back into their lives in the most messy and dramatic ways possible. And lastly, for $10, you can grant a player an advance. That means they get to pick a new move from their playbook. Effectively, it's a level up. It gives them another move or a bonus to a stat, whatever they choose to let them do more things in the story. But that's going to be my role in this, is to manage the players, and anything you throw at me, please throw things at me. But now I will let the players introduce their characters for this evening. Going in the same order, let's toss it first to Joe. Who are you going to be playing this evening?
I am playing Val Corwin. She is a former employee of the Leverage Corporation. Nothing so flashy, no Saul Goodman here. She was just a paper pusher, clerk type, decided that the hustle and bustle of fantasy New York, San Francisco wasn't for her. So she's trying to find her place. And one of those options is at the cafe. She has recently been brought on and is very nervous all the time, but especially now.
All right. And next up, Al, who will you be this evening?
I will be Mabel, the Dream Mirror. Identifies as a pansexual demi woman wearing brightly colored sweaters with animals on them. In this case, she is being a paranormal investigator. She is wearing a pink sweater with image of a ghost that says, will not ghost you. And she, while she is a paranormal investigator, she focuses more on helping others than actually finding the ghosts. And being the dream mirror, and having thinking about how others perceive her too, she feels though she's got to focus. She does have to focus on like getting rid of the ghosts as opposed to like maybe being more understanding to them.
And I will note this character is legally distinct from any other property that you may be thinking of,
Yes.
especially ones owned by mouse corporations.
Mhm.
Not that at all. All right. Next up, Vi, who will you be playing tonight?
So I will be playing the Troubadour Wubs with infinity Z's. I am a chaos child from the literal garbage of the Seven Roads City, who has cobbled together her life as a dubstep cringe lord.
What a phrase. All right. And lastly, Melly, who will you be playing?
I will be playing Marvel, who goes by Marv, uses she, they pronouns. They have kind of taken on almost a mercenary role in the past, at least. Their mother was accosted, and that made them take a blade. But they're slowly learning that you can't you can't solve every problem with the sword, which is unfortunate. So now they are hanging out at the Tobin's Cafe, trying to figure out how to solve problems without the sword. And that's a bit new for Marv. So.
Okay. So normally in a game of Thirsty Sword Lesbians, each of these playbooks comes with a few questions to help establish relationships between the other characters. 3 of these playbooks are from the supplement Advanced Lovers and Lesbians, which does not have such questions for whatever reason. So I think we're going to kind of improvise some questions to ask between you to help establish how you know each other or the kind of impact that you have on each other. And what those relationships are going to do is give you strings. Strings are a kind of currency of the game in a metaphorical sense. They represent influence over another person, whether that's because you respect them or because you have a crush on them. There are a couple moves you can make that involve strings. Most importantly is influence, where you can try to get them to do something that you want them to do because you have some influence over them. So if anybody has a question that came to mind, like a way you think your character would interact with another character, feel free to throw that out. Otherwise, I can make up some questions to kind of create some relationships between you.
I think I have one.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, it's a little difficult because I'm sure Val is very new to the establishment. But I can imagine Violet with her whole vibe. Like, what when Val first walks in, she's wearing this big, like, big dress, lots of bows everywhere, very like overdressed. Not a lot of color though, and I'm curious about how Violet's character, whose name I did not write down, and I'm sorry, but I'm curious about how your character would feel about that very toned down presentation.
Yeah.
You're saying you're overdressed in like a really fancy way?
I think so. I think, yeah.
I actually think that's pretty cool. Most of what I've been rebelling against is more to do with like the corporate status of the world. So, you know, if you're dressed up in that regard, that makes sense. It's not you coming in like a, you know, you didn't come in like a pantsuit or a tuxedo or some bullshit. So
Right on.
Yeah. Yeah. So mark down then. Sorry, remembering character names. Yeah. Mark down then, Val, that you that Wubs has a string, that you have a string on Wubs because they value your and respect your aesthetic.
Cool.
Okay.
Also, I can't believe I forgot the name was the Infinite.
Uh, Infinite Z's. It's easy to forget that many.
Let me think here. Marv was pretty protective in general, so I think that Marv would kind of has been coming to the Tobine's Cafe for a bit, maybe like reading a little bit of philosophy, trying to figure out how to solve problems without the sword, but still like keeping an eye on the people that are in Tobine's regularly. So I would think that Marv would feel protective over you. You work at Tobine's, yes?
Just started, yeah.
Yeah. So Marv, I think, would feel protective over you a bit.
Okay.
And perhaps have a there.
Yeah. How does that protection kind of take form? Like if a customer gets unruly?
If a customer gets unruly, Marv is always kind of watching the area. Marv is always on high alert. And so if someone tends to be a little unruly towards Val, Marv might let Val, handle it a little bit. But if it gets to be loud voices and standing very close, Marv would come up and kind of use her bulk to stand and intimidate, since she's trying to not use the sword. And if someone needs to be walked out because they're being rude, Marv would do that.
Cool.
I wish I had a Marv when I worked in retail.
Everybody deserves a Marv.
Yeah. Just a large, scary person to stand behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So for the string, I just write down Val?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think in regards for Mabel to Marv, Mabel feels like she has to be tough, especially when you have skeptics maybe who are like, "Oh, you're a fraud," or "What you're doing, what you're doing is, you're a fraud. It's dumb that you believe in this stuff." And being around Marv, I gotta act tough. I gotta defend myself in what I do. Knowing about Marv's past, about her whole thing about the sword, and admiring that past too.
Marv would certainly find that of interest, though would not feel threatened by you at all, but would kind of enjoy your company, I believe, and find it interesting, and probably ask you questions about. So, you're investigating, and you don't have a sword. How do you solve problems without the sword, or without a weapon? How do you? Because you do have a sword.
Right.
But how do you? Why is that not your first go-to? Might be some of Marv's questioning.
Right.
You might be helping Marv understand how to solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I might have a bit of a general question for a couple people.
Yeah.
Those of you who are either regulars or Val said she was a new hire, so not super sure on that. But for those of you who are familiar with the other regulars, Wubs is a very loud human being. And this is a cat cafe. This is a very comfortable, cozy atmosphere. And yet here comes this woman off of the streets dressed as if she just walked out of and or into a nightclub with music in her headphones blaring so loud everyone can hear. How does everyone feel about that?
Mabel would be kind of used to it. I just changed my cat like a few seconds ago to discern it from the mouse thing. But the cat, let's just say her cat is named Grog, and he can be very loud and likes to bellow and make himself known. And so Mabel's just kind of used to that. It's like, oh, okay, you know.
Sure.
She would see that as like a kindred spirit.
Sure.
Marv is like trying to figure it out because the bright colors would be a problem in their line of work and the loudness, but like you're okay and you're not getting attacked. So Marv is like, who is this very colorful child with this loudness? Like, kind of concerned, like, do you know that you might be in danger at some point and you might need to be quiet? Do you know this kind of thing? But
Like what it
would
oh.
be friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So
And what does Val think of Wubs? have you ever seen anybody like Wubs before?
immediately I'm sorry to say immediately put off. Just like Val is someone trying to skirt, like just fly under the radar, and Wubs is actively destroying the radar.
Okay. Cool. All right. Are there any other questions or potential sort of relationship points that any of you can see with another character?
I don't think I have anything.
Okay.
at this point, I think I have strings with everybody.
Hmm.
And yours says the one with loves my baby.
Yeah. Okay. One thing that I will ask, Mabel, as a kind of a people pleaser who, you know, you're very focused on the ghost thing, but you're not quite sure what to do with yourself outside of that. How do you react to somebody like Wubs, who is extremely confident and out there doing something completely unique?
There's part of her that admires that confidence, that kind of wishes she had that and could be herself. But there also might be like a little bit of a hesitance to like engage that and ask, kind of go forward and ask how are you so well with yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Go ahead and give another string on you for Wubs then. Just for that kind of unearned confidence that Mabel maybe not necessarily wishes that she had, but finds some appeal in.
I am the one taking the string?
Or
was Mabel?
I guess, yeah, Mabel would take a string on you.
Okay.
I forget who I asked that question to. Sorry. Okay. So with our relationships established, we are ready to begin the game. So I think if you can imagine being set in a green forest where just a few hints of red and yellow are beginning to hit into the leaves, symbolizing the beginning of fall. Imagine the camera low to the ground, kind of like a creature running through the grass, occasionally stopping to look in a bush where something might be lurking inside before deciding to continue onward, and bounding low and past trees and grasses and slowly falling leaves. We come to a small building with almost like a half log cabin, part home, a strange amalgam of a building kind of thrown into one setting. And we come up to a simple wooden door with a sign hanging above it that says Tobin's Cafe, with a little cat paw prints on either side of the name. And there is a brief light pawing at the door before it opens, and a short older woman, maybe in her mid-50s, black hair just starting to turn white, kneels down and picks up a small cat. I'd say maybe British short hair with blue fur, who just sort of meows with a kind of deep voice. All right, I guess we've got another one. Val, see if you can find a home for this creature temporarily. And this is the manager, Winter, and she just sort of sets the cat in front of you on the counter.
Yeah, I can clear off some of the books on the last bookshelf. Yeah. Picks her up. Grabs it. She grabs some saucers.
Yeah. With that, Winter kind of walks back into the rear office to do some paperwork. They've been kind of increasingly stressed lately. You haven't worked at the cafe long, but you can kind of see since the interview where you were hired that Winter has become a little worried about something, but is trying not to let it show. I'd like to take a moment then to introduce the other characters, all cafe regulars. So in any order, introduce your character. What do they look like? What are they doing at the cafe this day? And actually, we can start with Val since we've already established her.
Yeah. I think we're second or third day in. Val, like I said before, is wearing this large, kind of ostentatious, I'll be honest, dress, mostly grayscale, but with one big blue bow in the middle. She has now taken the short hair and is working to clear the last cubby of books and trinkets from one of the walls. She puts the cat in there with some saucers off herself. Gets back to the counter area.
All right. Which of our customers is first to arrive at the store?
Okay.
Really?
Unless Mabel would like to.
No, go for it. Go for it, Mark.
Okay. So Marvel arrives at their usual time, which is, fairly early morning, but well after you guys have opened and established. She has dark purple hair, pale skin. She stands about 6'2", and she's very broad. She has biceps just about as thick as some men's necks. She's wearing very practical clothing, though she has kind of toned it down from what she had started coming here in. So it's not a whole outfit of leather. She just has a leather vest. She's now in jeans. She has some very fancy boots that are black and very soft leather. She wears a white, cream shirt with sleeves that are fairly puffy to give her room to flex and move. And she carries with her a journal. She has piercing blue eyes, and she approaches the counter. Says, "Hey Val, how's work?"
Oh, hi. Things are going. What can I get you?
Iced chai latte as always. Although you can't really call it a latte, can you? It's just chai, right?
Coming right up. Yeah.
Here, I got something for you. And she passes a small pink bow barrette to Val.
Oh.
Thought of you.
Thank
If
you
you
so
don't like
much.
it, it's okay.
No. She puts her right in. How much do you want for it? She starts reaching for like a butcher.
Absolutely nothing. It looks fantastic on you, and you've been so kind to me.
Oh,
Mm.
thank you.
I'll be in my usual spot.
Yeah. Chai latte coming right up.
And Mark kind of gives a little salute and goes to find the comfy chair near the window that they usually sit in.
Marv curled up next to you in right by the window, and there's a little sort of wooden platform that's been kind of attached to it for a cat to lay down and catch some sun rays. Next to sitting on that little platform next to you is Duchess. She is a very regal looking cat. She has long black fur and an orangish sort of mark on her head, vaguely reminiscent of a crown. And as you pass by Duchess, you are compelled, as you always are, to stop and pet her and tell her what a beautiful kitty she is.
I stop. I offer my hand for her to sniff because I may have not, interacted with many cats, but I am polite. And so I let her sniff, and then I stroke her fur. You are such a pretty cat. Do you know how pretty you are? You are so pretty. Pretty kitty. Yes. And after about a minute of that, Marv goes and sits down.
Yes, it's the compulsion of Duchess sort of lifts off of you and gives you one final headbutt in the hand as reward for your proper manners, and then lets you go with your day. And which customer is next to arrive at the Tobin's Cafe this day?
Yeah, Mabel comes in a little later than her usual time. She's short, but she's got kind of long black hair with a white streak in it. And she is this day she's chosen to wear her pink sweater, but with a ghost in the middle that says, smiling spirit. In her hand, she has a big leather bound book um, that is titled "How to Scream at Spirits and Get Away with It" by Back Zaggins. And so
Bagzaggins.
and as she's like kind of almost struggling to hold this book, she's finally got it in her underneath her arm. She just walks over to the counter. Morning, Val. I'll take the usual quad shot iced vanilla latte.
I am so glad you told me what the usual was. I'll get it one time. I'll get it next time. Mabel.
Don't worry.
She starts
I'm sure you remember it.
I like the sweater. It's a ghost. I'm sorry.
No,
She
no,
just puts her head down and
no, it's okay. Thank you. It's a lovely Thank you for the lovely compliment.
here you go. She hands you your drink.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Do you need anything? I know you are the employee and I am the customer, but do you need anything?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I think we're okay. No ghosts. Yeah, these days, I'm sure. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
Oh, it's quite all right. Then she takes her drink and goes to her usual spot, which is one of those tables that's there's the window and then there's a table with like a kind of a bar stool, for lack of a better term, and she'll sit there.
All right. Yeah. Just as you sit down, a The British short hair that just got brought in seems to kind of start sniffing around at the chair that you've just sat down in, and kind of like reaches a paw up to sort of like bat at one of the screws of the chair holding it together. It feels a bit firmer underneath you as you sit, and there's something familiar, but I have to stress legally distinct about this cat and you, Mabel.
No, that's okay. I changed his name too.
Oh, good.
Oh, Grog, it's good to see you.
Grog sort of sits down, gives you a nod, sort of in acknowledgement of having done a good job and maybe wanting a little treat out of it.
Oh yeah, and he, Mabel. They look around for a moment, making sure Winter doesn't see, and she'll take a treat from her pocket, and they said, "There you go, there you go. Don't tell Winter just because don't want to get in trouble."
Right. And lastly, Wubs, when and in what fashion do you arrive?
All right, so as everyone is having their very quiet and very cozy times at the Cat Cafe, a woman suddenly bursts through, kicking the door in. What's up, everybody?
Marv jumps in their chair.
I like to imagine there is just sort of music following behind Wubs, whether she's actually playing it or not.
So, in walks this woman with messy electric blue hair, bright white bang black tips, as well as a single strand at the back that's pink with raccoon stripes. She's wearing a pair of headphones with cat ears on top of them. Said ears are speakers that are, in fact, just constantly playing music out of them.
My partner literally has one of those.
Yes.
Oh, I do too. I don't have them, or else I'd be wearing them currently. Wearing a black crop top with a picture of a grayscale cat with galaxy sunglasses on them. She's also wearing a electric green hoodie that is open. Her limbs, particularly her wrists, are covered in candy beaded jewelry of just several obnoxious colors. She's wearing, of course, her prescription 3D glasses. She has on at least 3 belts. She is wearing a pair of very high-cut jean shorts, underneath which she is wearing like galaxy print leggings. Those have holes in them to reveal that underneath even that, she is also wearing mesh leggings. And she has a
I love
hair...
this outfit.
Yeah,
I spent a lot of time on this. And she has a pair of wine red canvas skater shoes that are completely ripped apart and being held together with school supplies. Also, noticeably jarring with everything else, she has a single metal gauntlet on her left hand in which she is holding a very peculiar technological sword. So she strolls right up to, I believe Val is at the counter. Yo, bartender, let me get can I get a cup of sweet milk with strawberry boba at the bottom, and then pour an entire can of Rockstar Energy into it?
Val has been doing her breathing exercises until until Wubs has approached. 1, 2, 3. Coming right up. Coming right up. You can. I'll bring it right to you. You can take your seat and.
You got it. She doesn't really take a seat. She more or less just sort of like scoots slightly to the right on the counter and just leans against it, surveying the room.
Yeah. And Val, maybe it is Winter's amazing foresight, or maybe there is some kind of magic in the Tobean's Cafe, but whatever sort of bizarre thing Wubbs ends up ordering, you always seem to have the supplies to make it. And that may be the reason for Wubbs's continued patronage. At a certain point, it's only been 3 days, but you're not sure if they've just haven't noticed how strange their orders are, or whether they're trying to challenge you by ordering these strange things. But you are always able to produce them.
Val makes it, and she brings it over. She says, "Okay, everything. I think I got it to your specifications. Unfortunately, that was our last can of Red Bull. So maybe, when you're finished here, we should switch to we can caffeine-free type thing. It's all up to you. It's up to you. Customer's always right."
Cool, thanks. And she just grabs her drink and continues to just sort of stand there. Just leaned up against the counter, checking out the room.
Yeah. And before too long, Wubbs, a cat comes up to you. They're a sort of a gray Scottish fold, so they've got the little hangy downy ears. Comes up, kind of gives you a brief headbutt of greeting, and says, "Hey Val, I'm sorry. Hey Wubbs."
Oh, hey.
Yeah. Hey, did you hear this latest episode of the Murder Cast the other week?
Sorry, what?
The Murder Cast. They go into to really deep dives into to true crime stories, and they talk about what happens. Sometimes try to solve mysteries. It's really cool if you ever want to give it a listen.
Maybe, I don't know. Kind of hard for me to get around a podcast when I got to keep the tunes coming 24/7,
Oh, okay, that's okay. I just thought, I always see you wearing headphones, so I wonder maybe you might need something to listen to. You could try some true crime podcasts.
Yeah, sure. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I want to clarify something. Is Wubbs, would she be familiar with the concept of this cat that talks?
You've probably come through enough to know of the several magic cats at Tobean's.
Sure.
This is Edgar, the
All
only
right.
one who can talk, but he only wants to talk about true crime podcasts.
That's very good.
He
Can the
proves
rest of
you
them-
every time, but only about true crime podcasts.
Can the rest of us hear Edgar talk? Or
Oh yes, absolutely.
okay, because Mabel immediately is like, "What's that podcast again? The murder?"
They always get it wrong, It's never like it is in real life.
So, some people like to correlate the paranormal with true crime and lump those together, and so just trying to expand my research, a little bit. It's what people
That's
say.
fine. I'm just saying, they sometimes get stuff wrong.
Mm.
Not that I listen. Harkin looks around.
Yeah. So each of you has had a drink and a cat nearby to keep you company.
Mm-hmm.
And so each of you kind of pass a bit of time just sort of living your own lives, enjoying the state of things in this eternally peaceful and welcoming cafe. About an hour into your collective visit, a tall woman with close cropped blonde hair kind of briefly steps into the cafe with a very watching expression over her face. She seems to kind of make a pointed look at each of you before standing back at, does a quick sort of flourish with a long pole arm that you did not see her walk in with, kind of pounds it to the ground, and like raises her hand to wave in somebody. And entering the cafe is probably one of the most gorgeous looking women that you have ever seen. There is a golden glittery sheen to her light brown skin. Her hair is long and curly and flows down her back. She is dressed in some of the finest clothing you have ever seen. It attempts to look casual, but you can clearly tell it is of fine make. And perhaps most notably, this woman is 8 feet tall. She has to duck slightly as she steps in through the door of Tobean's. She makes a brief survey of the area and approaches the counter to address you, Val.
Hi. What can I get for you today?
Oh, hello, child. This is my first time in an establishment such as this. A coffee shop? What would you recommend?
Well, we have coffee, tea, certain baked goods, crepes, muffins, toasts. Did I say muffins again? Val's having a hard time because she is smitten. Eleanor by the turtles is playing over her head, in her head. Maybe we can we've been developing this kind of it's a chai tea with cardamom.
She gives you a brief smile at your stammering, as if to say, "It's okay, child." But Val, you have used one of the magic mechanical words in bold print in the book, and you are smitten. Smitten.
Oh, I did do that, huh?
Yes, yes. Smitten is a.
I didn't. Was that not on purpose?
No.
Oh, the better then. So each playbook has its own special move for when their character becomes smitten with another. Why don't you read out what the Seeker's move for becoming smitten is?
Yes, I believe, and I'm gonna have to shuffle my tablet over. Excuse me. I hope you don't get motion sickness. So I believe we're looking at proper courtship. Which, when I'm smitten with somebody, I have to perform an elaborate and roundabout courtship ritual. Which, let's see, if the recipient responds properly, you each get +1 forward to protect each other until either of you breaks a commandment, which is another aspect of the Seeker playbook. If they don't understand that you're smitten, give a string to an onlooker who does understand, presumably to commiserate.
I mean, it's fair to say probably all eyes in the establishment are on this particular interaction. So,
Mars eyes are on her.
so I guess, do you realize you are smitten, first of all?
I think she's trying very hard to deny it.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and categorize that as a no. Who would you like to say does notice this then?
You meant the queen. Does she realize?
Oh yeah. If she, oh, is that what the move says? Does she? If your object of.
So perform. I think it requires that this attraction be acted upon in that elaborate and roundabout courtship ritual, and Val is cutting that off immediately.
Okay, so you're trying your hardest then to keep it cool.
Mm-hmm. And failing, right. I should mention.
Yeah, I mean it's very much clear to her that she knows, but in a way that she's kind of used to getting this reaction. Like, nothing against you personally, it's just she's a giant, beautiful woman. It happens to her, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you got me at 8 feet tall, but then you include all the other adjectives.
Right.
But
right,
yeah, eventually
so-
Valdez offer that cardamom chai tea situation and a related scone.
Mhm. Yeah. In that case, she will kind of like lean down, just to be at kind of eye level with you, and she says, "Oh, that sounds delightful. And whatever baked good you feel would pair well with it." And there's a brief kind of clearing of the throat behind her, and you see the buff, short-haired blonde woman says like, "Oh yes, and of course whatever my companion would like as well." And she walks away to find a seat, leaving you staring face to face with this blonde woman who so far has said nothing to you.
What what can I get for you, miss?
Grace, coffee, black, poppy seed muffin.
Okay. All right. I will have that right out to you.
She's going to stand here and wait for it.
I will have that right out right now. And she gets to work.
Right. Oh, do any of the other regular customers? You've obviously taken notice of this woman. I believe it sounded like most of you were from the kind of Seven Roads area. Perhaps Marv, did you see yourself as coming from Seven Roads or the Whisker Woods?
Probably more Seven Roads than Whiskerwood. So Marv is looking at this woman with a lot of interest because Marv has never seen anyone this tall,
Yeah.
or tall and beautiful.
Yeah.
Marv's got eyes on both this woman and the guard because
Yeah.
that was some fantastic pole arm work, and Marv can admire a professional, but you know, 8 foot giant, kind of giant woman who's so beautiful and so, but also seeming so delicate at the same time. She's rather entranced.
Right. Do you feel so compelled to approach either of these figures?
Marv will approach the guard, Grace,
Right.
and she'll kind of swagger up a bit. That's some nice polearm work there.
Yeah, she very quickly turns to put her body and pole arm between you and her before doing like a quick assessment and realizing you could have attacked her and did not, so you are probably safe. And sort of sets the pole arm aside, but still in her hand. Thank you. It's just something I've learned from my line of work.
Your line of work seems like it's right in my line of work almost, protecting people.
Well,
I
do not merely protect people. I protect one particular person, and I do it very well, I may add.
I bet you do. Who is she?
She briefly sort of like looks over and then back at you and is like, You are unaware then. You must be from the other realm, of course. You are in the presence of Queen Magdalena of the Whisperwood.
Mark kind of takes a second, because she's more used to Seven Roads. She's kind of accepted that there's magic, at least in the Tobins, so like in Tobins, but she doesn't really believe that Whiskerwood exists because she's not been there, despite of like concrete evidence of these magical cats and stuff. So Mark takes
the vibe you know of it is very like classical fantasy, like castles and royalty, and it's very like fanciful fairy type.
So Mark takes another look at Queen Magdalena. and then looks at the guard. My apologies, I was not aware. My realm tends to be more mundane, but I think in my journeys I'm beginning to see that I need to open up a little and explore other worlds, perhaps. She says this while staring at Queen Magdalena.
Yes. That is perhaps forgivable, and she kind of moves to reposition herself again between you and Magdalena. My mistress wishes to travel in a more inconspicuous fashion of late. So if you do not know who she is, then that means she is doing a good job of it.
I'll try not to draw attention to her. I'm pretty good at not drawing attention to myself, but I believe I would enjoy a conversation with her, if that's allowed.
You you bear the scars of a warrior's life, stranger. You may forgive me then for being a little wary of letting you approach her so openly.
I understand, but you see, the reason why I'm here is I've spent my life solving problems with my sword, solving problems with violence. As I'm sure you solve many problems yourself. Some problems you have to deal with that way. But I'm endeavoring to learn how to solve problems in a less violent way. That is why I'm here in Tobin's Cafe instead of on the road searching for work.
Okay. She thinks upon this for a moment. There's clearly a bit of there's clearly a bit of respect for you in her eyes. You have lived the warrior's lifestyle as you gather she has, and so it seems to be a hard choice for her to make. But she her posture relaxes, and she takes in a deep breath, like, very well. If my mistress does indeed crave a warrior such as yourself, then perhaps it is merely... No, excuse me. You may approach her and perhaps succeed where others have failed.
I reach out gently and slowly and place a hand on her shoulder. Thank you, sincerely. And I'm sorry for whomever you have lost.
And I'm sorry for your losses as well. She gives you kind of a generic military salute.
I nod and I take my hand back. May I approach her now, or would you like to let her know that I'm coming so she's not... I mean, I wouldn't think that a woman like that would be afraid of anything, but...
She is looking for a more natural and organic start to a relationship. If she knew my influence were at play, she might actually think worse of you for it.
Well, we don't want that. Well, thank you. And thank you for the advice. And I turn away. Is her drink and scone ready, Val?
Val. Yeah, Val has sought out the advice of Winter to try to check. She's just like, is it okay? It's not too hot, right? It's like the scone's okay, and the poppy smell and everything's good.
You got a day and a half of training, Val. You know how to make these things. If you think it is good, then it is good. Trust yourself.
Okay. She picks up the tray and she's shaking a little bit. And she sees Marv and she's like, "Oh, are you Are you bringing this
Mark
over? Is
reaches
that?
out for the tray. Yeah, I'd love to take care of that for you. You've got so much that you're doing right now.
Thank you. She offers it.
Mark takes the tray and walks over to Queen Magdalena.
Okay. All right. We can pick up with the two of you a little later. Meanwhile, though, between Mabel and Wubbs, I cannot help but giggle a little at the name every time, but it's so good. So, Mabel and Wubbs, while this whole scene has been going on, what are the two of you up to?
Mabel is engrossed in her book for a moment, and she's got a notebook kind of written down. Part of it is like, ideas, and she's reading the book by this guy who is considered to be one of the top paranormal investigators. Part of her is kind of revulsed and disgusted because it goes against her initial nature, but she feels that this is what people like, this is what people want to see. So she's kind of fighting, she's writing it down and telling herself that this is what she's got to do. And this is what the people want. It gets ratings. Similar to, and then she also like has true crime circled a little bit too. Question mark. But she's also kind of written down Grace as well. And her eye just kind of keeps going to Grace. But he's like, okay, how do I? She's lost people, similar to Marv. How do I approach that? So.
Okay. Wubbs, do you have any people that you want to talk to? Or anything you want to do?
Not particularly interested in talking to anyone at the moment. I am kind of keeping my eye on this newcomer, this queen. I didn't catch her name.
Madam Adelana?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can sort of like deal with someone like Val, whose dress is maybe over eager, but this woman, she reeks of money and status. It's not enough where I'm going to go over and say anything, but definitely this woman's presence is harshing something of my vibe.
Okay. I will say that the Tobin's Cafe does have a small stage that they use for open mic nights. Wubbs's particular brand of performance is not the normal kind of thing that a cat cafe may attract, but there is such a place for you to ply your musical arts if you chose to.
You know me so well.
I like that chuckle.
Anywhere where I can prostrate myself before my patron, the bass. So, Wubbs is going to jump up onto that stage and is going to like. I'm sure they have a microphone or whatever set up. I ignore all of that. I instead crank the speakers in my cat ears up to 11 and begin just having my full on bass drop rocking session, which is being controlled, I might add, very strangely by the sword in my left hand. Her performance is something sort of, it's not exactly artful, it's not balletic, but it's a very like almost like shadow fighting on stage with someone else as the sounds and the synths are wobbling and beating in time with her sword strokes.
I love that so much.
So yeah, so imagine the pounding tunes of early 2010s dubstep in the background of this scene, Mabel, as you approach this woman Grace to talk to her.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
actually,
and Mabel's doing that. She's doing the and at first she's kind of like, so and remembering the conversation that Mark had with her too. So that's some fancy weapon you have there. I have kind of a weapon myself, and the way that she kind of twists her sweater a little bit, and from the threads it kind of forms her sword.
Ooh,
So very, it's like, yeah, it's not the fighting kind. I'm sure you've taken many lives, but this one suits me well.
oh wow, that's interesting. Um, I do want to maybe get back to because there's
oh
something
yes, you got
mechanical that should have happened a bit.
yeah.
Yeah. So what? Since I am on stage performing, I have my troubadour move of limelight that can get some effects.
Yeah, so roll plus heart.
Yes. What is my heart?
Got it at a plus
My
2.
heart is +2. Yes. Okay. So that is a combined 9.
Okay, so a 9 is a mixed beat.
Mhm.
So in this case, you get to choose 2 of the items from the limelight list, and I will ask you one question from Figure Out a Person, and everyone in the audience will know the answer to it.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So, thankfully, one of these things I think has already happened, which is the rock out result. Mabel seems to be enjoying the music quite well, so I am going to take a string on her,
Mhm.
and then um. The other effect I'm going to use is going to be the shout out, where I thank my patron yet again, the bass, for the blessings of her sweet sound, which will give me a +1 forward.
Cool. Yes. Actually, for a brief aside, your patron, the bass. This is another mechanical aspect to Wubs. Your patron is somebody who makes it possible for you to perform and to inspire these people, but it does occasionally have expectations of you, and wants you to continue to perform and to please others. uh, Tell us a little bit about the bass.
This is going to get a bit abstract because
Please.
I believe how it was written in the playbook for Patron is that it can be either a single person, a group of fans, or an aesthetic.
Uh-huh.
So the base is not one single person. Like it's not someone who's going to walk into the door of this cafe. It is more this sort of this force that, as Wubbs particularly perceives it, this force that binds the universe together and binds people's hearts together in this assumed longing that everyone has to sort of shed the expectations of society and truly pursue what is meaningful to them.
Interesting. Yeah, so the base definitely rewards you for bringing in these stanky rhythmic vibes into the lives of these normies. And you hear an echoing voice from within your blade that says, "Another delightful performance, Wubs. A+." But meanwhile, as the your sound reverberates through this small cafe, there is a question that I get to ask you that all the
Yes,
listeners of the cafe will know the answer to.
as I bear my heart on stage.
Yes, and that is, of course, what are your feelings towards Queen Magdalena?
Ooh. Initial feelings? Not a fan.
Hmm.
As I said before, she is a woman of money. She is a woman of status. And that's just not something I vibe with. You know, again, it's not to the point where I'm going to get up and do or say anything, but I would probably prefer if she just wasn't here.
Yeah. All right. So, with that in mind, Mabel, as we jump back to your conversation with Grace, uh, she takes an assessing look at your blade of sweater yarn, and is not completely dismissive of it. She's maybe a little taken back at the material and texture, but she says that she does respect you for even having such a thing. It is unorthodox for sure, but it does mean that you perhaps make some small baby steps on traveling the path of the blade and protection. And you think that she almost gives you a faint smile, but then the meaning of Wubbs's performance starts to sink into her, and her eyes are briefly drawn away from you up to the elaborately dressed figure on stage. What do you do to try and keep her attention, or perhaps
Um,
lay her anger?
Mabel will just, yeah, I've taken small steps, but I'm not. Obviously, I have always figured to be someone like yourself. I'm sure you've had many great battles and vanquished many foes. Who was your greatest opponent? Might I ask?
Hmm.
You know, I've heard, I've heard that every warrior has that one fight that really spoke to them and really made them who they were.
Mhm. Um, she almost seems to like get pulled back into the world proper at your words. It's like, oh yes, well, I have vanquished as many foes as need require in order to protect and uphold the honor of my lady, and it may be that I need to vanquish another this day. Mabel, she looks like she's raring for a fight in one way or another. I will offer you a string of influence over Grace if you agree to fight her in this moment.
Agree to fight
How did
Wubs?
like yeah? I mean, I was talking about Grace, but if you want
Oh,
to,
okay, no, yeah. I was like,
I mean, that's
I'll
juicy.
take you on.
we probably fought before. Yeah. So
Okay.
someone close to me once said that you can't be better unless you fight those who are better than you.
She, you know, has started forward, but as you say that, then she seems a little surprised that you you would stand in my stead, girl, to uphold my lady's honor.
Yes.
This this is not your job to do, but I am flattered.
By all means, it is. I aim to please.
Well, as if kind of seeing you in a newer light. Well, then I am interested to see how you perform. Then
Yes.
I'm going to briefly cut over uh, to Marv and Magdalena. What have you two been chatting about?
Well, I approached with tea and I complimented her choice, and she chose chai. Um, I have also um, I've watched Wubbs' show and the display of the sword, and I've commented to Queen Magdalena on how that's such an interesting style that I have never seen before. I almost am not certain if it would work in actual combat, but it is rather beautiful in its own way, wouldn't you say?
Yes, I admit I am perhaps unfamiliar with this type of music. The fact that it comes from a weapon is itself quite unique.
I
Uh,
mean, I've always said that swords sing when you use them correctly.
that you, yes, you do have the look of a warrior about you.
That
You're,
I am, my lady.
what, what sort of scars are visible on your body?
So there's a rather prominent cheek scar where it doesn't look like it was too awful of a wound, just like maybe Marv wasn't quite as quick as she needed to be. There are many scars on Marv's hands where there have been nicks, there have been cuts. Marv is missing a little piece of their fingertip, their pinky tip. Not the full joint, but enough to where there's not a nail there anymore.
Okay.
So those would be the visible ones.
Okay. I think she puts a hand out then to trace that face scar. Not in like a forceful, possessive way, but just in the habit of someone who is used to being allowed to touch people without being told no. It's
Marv
not
holds
forceful, but
very still and is
yes,
very tense as she does this.
it's very gentle. Oh, this must have been a particularly violent one. I'm glad to see you recovered from it.
I learned to move a little bit faster. I certainly did.
Oh. How fast exactly do you move these days?
Well, there's times when you need to move very fast, and there's times when you need to slow down. So I would say right now I am at a moderate pace.
Uh, I'll jump over to Val really quick.
Yeah, I
Yes.
just wanted to say she sees like she's like kind of listening in a little bit. She sees how close
Mhm.
this is getting, and she calls out, Marv, Marv, can you
Yes?
and she just pulls it like she made another crepe at another tea. It just looks like how, your drinks are getting a little more drinks. That
Sure, that would be lovely. I'll come. One moment. And I get up and I go over to Val. And is there a tray for me to take, or do you need something?
yeah. Hold on. She assembles a tray, and she's just like looking up over, or I guess past Marv. No way, she's looking over those shoulders. And just he gets the another crepe, another tea, another chai for Marv. Do you want anything to eat? Are you hungry at all?
Oh, I'm okay, but thank you so much. She's
Yeah, of
rather
course.
striking, isn't she?
You could.
Marv's eyes kind of dart back, but don't look. Just comments to Val.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say so. Here you go. Here's your. If you just want to bring that.
All right, thank you. Yes, I will take that over, and I bring the tray over.
Yeah.
Looks like Val wanted us to have fresh drinks and food to fortify us for if there's more music, I suppose.
Yeah. Magdalena has sort of leaned back in her chair, seems to have kind of recentered herself, and is looking over at the stage. And I'm sorry, is that something that normally happens here? And you turn to see Mabel, sweater sword drawn, seeming to confront Wubbs up on stage.
Not as such as long as I've been here, but perhaps this is a new element to the performance?
So, Marv, I'm going to offer you a string on Queen Magdalena if you stay out of whatever's about to go down between those two.
All right. Right now, Marv is Marv has always kind of viewed Babel in a respectful light because a sword made out of sweater yarn is very resourceful, and very interesting. And Wubbs is just Marv doesn't know what to do with someone who is so loud and bright. Marv is just kind of at a loss there. Marv has many questions, but does not yet ask them. So Marv will stay out of this fight and have a string on Queen Magdalena.
Okay, so let's cut over to the duo in question. Mabel, someone's honor has been insulted. More importantly, somebody you're kind of crushing on has given you a chance to prove yourself. What are you saying? What are you doing?
Yeah, Mabel will walk up to Zubs, sword drawn, and it's like, Wubbs, I respect you. However, you shouldn't dishonor someone as high ranking as a queen.
Sorry, what?
And she's doing this with like a clenched fist, like, am I really gonna go through with this? But okay.
Come on. We can't just let some new girl walk into the store and suddenly decide we're all going to be boring.
She's not boring, and Mabel takes and she points her sword forward, so you should apologize right now.
Apologize? What for?
You insulted somebody without even knowing them.
Exactly how?
You just assume that someone walks in and think they're high and mighty and because of her status, but you really don't know the real person.
I would be very surprised if this noble was any different than any other I had ever met or heard about. Haven't met that many now that I say that out loud.
Well, people
what does it matter? Why do you care?
I care because you shouldn't just make assumptions about people. It's people are like ghosts. People think that they're scary at first, but really there's just something underneath. And they really, really have more to them than just their frightening presence. Apologize or I'm gonna have to strike you down. Mm-hmm. Or however this duel thing goes.
Oh, you're looking for a fight. Yeah, all right. It's been a while since I've danced, but I could have a go. Why don't you join me up here?
All right.
Yeah, Mabel, as you hop up on the stage, it seems to magically elongate, giving you a plenty of space to move around in. A few of the tables seem to have drawn in closer, giving you platforms to hop around upon. So how Thirsty Sword Lesbians handles combat between player characters, it's usually done through either entice or figure out a person. Either trying to convince somebody to do something or to ask questions about them to get at the heart of their feelings. So, Mabel, as the instigator, I will let you choose what move do you want to do to kind of represent the combat between you.
From my playbook, or
if you have a playbook move that applies, there's also the basic moves. Entice is appealing to someone's physical or emotional sensibilities, and figure out a person is when you try to understand somebody.
Okay. She would try to figure out. She would try to figure out why why Subs is having these feelings toward the Queen.
Okay.
Yeah,
So go ahead then and roll plus wit.
Okay.
I would not use all of this because of 100 milligrams.
Okay.
This will be 2d6, and by the way, a donor has said that everyone gets 2 advantage. So if you
Okay.
want, you
Oh,
3d6 and drop the lowest.
I already rolled my 2d6 and I got 2 6s on both of them. With the wit,
Nice.
that's 13.
Okay.
So
So yeah, figure a person out comes with a list of questions you can ask. And also your playbook comes with some options for when you try to figure out a person in a physical conflict.
okay.
So since you rolled a 12, you can ask 2 of those questions.
Okay. All right, and I apologize. I'm looking at the sheet right now. Where would the questions be? Or just in the playbook moves?
Yeah, it should be right next to your playbook moves.
Okay. Okay. I guess the one would be how have prior relationships fallen short of expectations? That's one of the questions.
Okay.
So that would relate to the situation.
Yeah. If you were to like bring that question up in combat, like how would you get onto that topic?
She would probably say, has someone with money and prestige hurt you in the past? They hurt you in a previous relationship.
Who hurt you?
And yeah, who hurt you?
Who hurt you? Who made you like this?
Yeah. So Wubs, you have to answer honestly. Who hurt you?
I mean, most of it comes from my asshole ex-boyfriend, Frederick. It's really stuffy piano type, played all that, I don't know, all the old shit. Stuff I didn't care for. And I always felt like he was trying to change me.
Brief reminder to our viewers, if you want to bring this jerk Frederick into the scene for a mere $5, you can do so. Meanwhile, Mabel, your second question in this fight.
Let's see. It's and what desire or fantasy have you hidden from others?
You can also pull from the basic moves list questions.
Okay.
Like, how could I get you to? How would you feel if I?
I mean, how could I get you to see this person differently? How can I get you to see the Queen differently than more than just money and prestige?
I suppose I'd have to see her cut loose in some way. I mean, at the moment, all she's done is just walked in with her, bodyguard on her side and had whatever air she's had. This is a place of comfort and music. She's not dancing like you were. She doesn't seem to be paying the cats any mind thus far. I want her to prove to me that she's different.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the two of you kind of have crossed blades as you have this conversation, kind of, reaching a point where you can, de-escalate without, either of you having lost anything from it.
Can I want to also try to figure out Mabel.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Sure. So, with wit, that's an 11.
All right. 2 questions.
All right. First question. Is what do you hope to get from my apology? Or perhaps more accurately, why do you even care? Why are you coming up to me? What do you really hope to get out of it for yourself?
Um, uh, I feel that doing this, number one, number one, it's helped me see more courageous in the eyes of others. And as she says this, she's kind of eyeing Grace specifically, a great warrior like herself. But then also to have like the confidence like you have.
Makes sense. Second question I'm going to ask is going to be from my playbook. You seem to be really upset with me right now. How can I get you to like me again?
Mm, let me let me try this idea. You said before you want the queen to cut loose. I think I might have an idea that can help. Maybe help her cut loose and also get to know the cats a little bit better.
Sure. All right. I trust you.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So with the two of you finally disengaged from combat, Val, what exactly is the cafe policy for when this sort of thing happens?
So Winter definitely has. I could see Winter definitely having a kind of take it outside if you have to be pushed outside. That's how it'll get dealt with. But Val, with this being such an early shift, um, she is not. She's cowering a little bit. She's not enforcing that policy whatsoever. You know what? She's actually started. She's made their drinks, and she's gonna bring them over in hopes to appease things.
Uh, okay. Yeah. So drinks in hand, Val approaches the two of you. And as one, I think the trio of you turn to look at Queen Magdalena, chatting with Marv briefly, and the two of you look up and meet eyes with the two who just fought and one who just broke it up. And with that, I think we're going to take a small break.
All right.
Cool.
Alrighty.
What 5 times?
Yeah, let's take 10 minutes. Cool down, fan yourselves off, get hydrated,
Quite literally.
and
Yeah.
we'll be
Yeah.
back at 7:48.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Alrighty. See you guys in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And we're back.
All right, everyone, welcome back to part 2 of Tobin's Cafe, a Thirsty Sword Lesbians one-shot. Thanks to a generous donation, every player character's ex is going to enter into the scene. So, we've had a brief Dumont as the fight between Mabel and Wubbs has subsided. They've gotten a better understanding of each other, and maybe a plan to entice Queen Magdalena out of her fancy pantsy shell a little bit. But all that seems to suddenly have been put on hold as a quartet of people enter the cafe. Perhaps not as a singular group, but they have all entered at the same time. Let's go around the curve here with same order as before, starting with Val. Who's your ex that just walked into your place of work?
His name is Devin. He is as boring can be. Tall, thin, white guy, black suit, white shirt, black tie, very shiny looking person. Every single hair of it is short cropped. Style is in perfect order. He orders coffee plain with cream and sugar.
Nice. Yeah, almost places this order without ever even seeing you, and it feels like a few seconds pass as if like, hey, it's me, do you recognize me, before he even acknowledges you, and then does the double take. Mabel,
Hi.
describe Mabel's ex.
All right. In walks in a elvish-looking woman with thick black hair, curly brown skin. She's got a slightly broken nose and kind of dark spots under her eyes. Many years of boxing, as can be seen with like her hand wraps. She just got out of sparring. She's wearing like a black kind of sweater and black sweats. She would walk over to the counter and jokingly kind of ask for something strong, but then no, I'll just have water.
Yeah. With that fresh from the gym sheen of sweat still on her, she, waiting for her water, just takes a look around and sees you, sword drawn, near the stage, and gives a difficult, perhaps, expression on her face. I don't know if that's a side of you that she has seen before. So, Wubbs, who's Wubbs' ex?
As mentioned before, is a very, very full of himself, haughty man named Frederick. And as he strolls in, he is a very tall and lean man with perfectly coiffed and sleeked back brown hair, and would be similarly described as wearing the most just corporate, obnoxious, drab power suit that he could be strolling in. However, it's made just that little more obnoxious by the hideous lace cravat he is wearing instead of a necktie.
Awful. I love it.
And he has this very just haughty look around the cafe from over top his thin wire specs at the bottom of his nose.
Mm-hmm. And lastly, Marv, who's your ex?
A tiny woman walks through the door. She's about 5 foot, probably 100 pounds soaking wet. She has big brown eyes that kind of make her look like she belongs in a Disney movie, like she might be a chipmunk or something. She has a cute little button nose, and she is dressed in like a little petite pink lacy number. She is very feminine, and she basically has her eyes on her cell phone. She has long fake nails. that clack as she types. She does not look up from her phone when she approaches you, Val. She just says, pumpkin spice latte, extra cinnamon, non-fat skim milk, but I need a tiny splash of 2% just so that I get that vitamin D, keeping it sunny. And I also want extra foam with whipped cream. And if you could do the caramel drizzle in a smiley face, because my day's been really bad.
Karen with the smiley face coming right up.
Right. So at this point, I will mention there is a mechanical aspect as well to all of these X's. So in this game, there are toxic powers, basically symbols of corruption and oppression, and just negative energy that are threatening this lovely queer space. I'm going to treat these X's as toxic powers for the sake of this game. There is a special move that you can make called Call on a Toxic Power. So if you want to interact with your X or another person's X, you can make that move. You can get some information from them, you can get some help, but they will take something from you in exchange, because that's just how toxic powers work. Is you can't get anything without giving something of them. So I'm gonna throw it out to the group. I know Mabel and Wubbs, you had a plan. Marv, you were having a delightful-ish day. How do you all react for all of these people in your respective past showing up at the same time, as if a cruel twist of fate?
Mabel kind of jumps at first, but she, she's like, oh, you're here. But she also tries to remain calm and cool, because that's, Ash was always calm and cool in like situations too. And but she unknowingly kind of squares up like an unorthodox stance, because they, in the past they've been to the gym together many times. Mabel's seen her fight, so it's just that kind of instinct. So
yeah. Did she ever see you in any kind of position like this, where you were like, you look like you had just fought or something? Is this a new look for you?
Not common, not really. Maybe a couple times, like sparring and stuff like that, but never with the sword drawn, and never with like a threatening, what would be like a threatening fight out in the open.
Okay. So I think she kind of like flips up a bit from the counter she was leaning against, like grabbing her water out of Val's hand as she passes, and kind of like walks up to you, gives you that kind of appraising look. And what was it you said before about fighting people better than you?
Mabel said to Grace, once someone once told me that the only way to get better at fighting is to fight somebody better than you.
Okay. Yeah, so she comes up to you then, and kind of gives you one of those playful punches that she always did, like fighting somebody a little better than you, Mabel.
Oh yeah, and Mabel, I'm still with sword out and really has it like inches away, not in a threatening way, but just she's not thinking about it right away. She doesn't realize that her sword is still out. Oh, sorry. She calls the strings back.
Raffles back up under your sweater. Nice. All right. Does anybody else want to approach their ex, or try to act like they're not there, or run?
I feel like I less want to act like they're not there, and I'm going to absolutely try my damnedest to make them leave.
Putting on that anonymous, just okay.
Yeah, so I am. knowing particularly Frederick has always hated my music, I am going to start blaring it even louder. I want the walls of this cafe to shake.
Okay. So it sounds to me like you're making your move the number of the beast.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Okay.
A
Yeah,
transgression of societal norms.
Yeah. So you're gonna roll plus spirit.
All right. That's the dice are 13. No, not 13. It's a D6. There is no 9.
Yeah.
What am I doing? The dice are a 10.
Okay.
Rather.
So yeah. So
I don't think spirit. Yeah, spirit's not my minus. So we're good.
Yeah. So your transgressive music inspires the audience to work together. So whether you know it or not, you know your ex is here. You may or may not know about the other people, but what do you do that sort of rouses your fellow patrons to action here, and what do you want them to do?
I don't know if I necessarily want to dictate anyone's specific action, but I think I want sort of this general sense amongst everyone in the cafe that was already here, to have this common understanding, even if it's not like, hey, everyone here is someone's ex. I want this understanding to be like, oh, a whole lot of toxic people just entered, and we either need to play our cards very, very straight, or we need to outright get them to leave.
Okay. Yeah, there is definitely an energy shift in the room, as if 4 different people got upset for very different reasons, but you can all kind of feel the vibe. The cats seem to have
I think what it is that heart-stopping, dropping feeling that you just got when your ex walked into the room. You now understand. Oh, everyone else just felt that too.
And brief pause that because of donations, all of our characters have gotten advancements on their playbooks, so they get to pick new moves. And Mabel and Bubs in particular have gotten additional advancements.
Nice.
And for a $10 donation, you can advance the character of your choice, unlocking their potential, granting them more options, living out their wildest fantastical dreams. Maybe not that last one, but
Right. All right, the move I am going to take from my playbook is definitely going to be Shooting Star.
And
then I might take one from a different playbook. I just look through it real quick.
Okay. Yeah. Are you using Shooting Star right now?
Let me think.
So for the audience, Shooting Star is when you need something from an NPC you've never met, you may declare that they're a fan. They will give you what you want so long as it doesn't endanger their life or values.
So give me a rundown again of the exes who have just wandered in.
Sure.
Real quick.
There's Mabel's ex, Ash, who is a former boxer, has some elf ears, has just come from the gym. There is Marv's ex, who seems extremely basic, and Wubbs would certainly notice this. Looks like a smaller version of Queen Magdalena. You take away the makeup. It's
yeah.
And then there is Val's ex, Devin, who basically looks like your ex, but more bland.
Gotcha. All right. I think so. Who I'm going to declare a fan of myself is going to be, because I find it funny, Devin.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
All right. And I am going to sort of bring down maybe my performance on stage and instead go up to approach Devin. And I'm going to let me see here. Need something from an NPC you've never met.
Yeah, there
What's going
is like as you come off stage, there's that look of like reaction, like Devin's like, "Oh my god, is that Wubbs? Like, Wubbs is walking towards me
This-
right now."
this very drab, boring businessman.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to approach this man and just say, "Hey, you, I got an important thing to ask you." And I'm going to point over at Marv's ex. What's her name? What's her deal?
Let's see. I think these two know each other.
Describe
Yeah.
the X again.
Devin.
Who's trying to know Annie? Devin was the boring one. Well,
Yeah.
Annie's basic, so maybe they both were at an actual Starbucks and ordered the same drink at the same time. And they thought it was so funny, and they became friends, maybe.
Yeah. It's a total meet cute in just the blandest way possible.
The most boring beige meet cute you could ever make.
Like their names don't even sound similar enough that they could be like, and then the barista called out my name. Like, no, you didn't even mistake it. You just weren't paying attention and both grabbed it.
Right.
That's full of my pull out a bland voice here. Oh yeah, yeah. This is Annie. We and then he just repeats the story as he's done dozens of times.
Right, sure. Annie, huh? Wubbs is just going to look her up and down. That's interesting. How come she looks like the tall girl?
She's still like dotting away on her phone, not really even noticing she's been invited into this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Annie, why do you look like this giant woman? And like the eyes of the ex quartet just sort of look over at the table where Marv and Magdalena have been trying to be as inconspicuous as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Just whatever relaxation Marv had, well, shortly after she stroked Marv's cheek, whatever relaxation has gone. And Marv is kind of tense, but also just trying to ignore all of that and focus on this beautiful woman in front of them.
Yeah. For her part, Queen Magdalena has, had a very practiced and unflappable expression for most of your conversation, but as she looks over at this group and Annie is pointed out to her, there is just a look of anger in her eyes, and she kind of starts vibrating, and you, only you, Marv, because of your proximity, can hear her say, like, "That lying little brat." And she looks like she's about to stand up and walk over to this group. What do you do?
My lady, please sit. I pause. I look over my shoulder to see Annie. Marv's not great at emotion, or expressing it, and so as if Queen Magdalena sits and kind of stays with Marv, Marv speaks in a lower voice. That is my ex, and I put that behind me. I am looking forward, and right now, I am looking at a beautiful woman who, for some reason, is 2 feet taller than me, and wondering what the next words out of her mouth are going to be. And I'm sincerely hoping that the ghosts of my past stay ghosts. You are wonderful. I'm meeting you as a gift. And I'm going to go take care of this now. If you think of me differently after, know that in this moment, you are the sun. Marv gets up and approaches Annie.
If I may, just before that, this feels like a move. I think I would say
I think
offer
this
your
is
emotional support. You may not reason why specifically, but you can also try to figure the person out if you need the exact reason.
Hang on, which am I looking at? My moves here. I'm trying to figure out which one goes with it. Because the one that I don't have is I've seen things you wouldn't believe, which is unfortunate that I didn't take that one.
The basic moves sheet as well.
Oh, basic moves sheet. Thank you. Yeah.
Can I
emotional support. Yeah.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, could this also be defy disaster? Like you're trying to stay the queen?
I don't think the disaster is incoming towards Marv necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think danger is imminent at this moment.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, I would say this is emotional support.
Okay.
So 2d6.
Yeah, heart or spirit, your choice.
Spirit. That's a 9.
A 9. So on a 9, if they open up to you, they choose one. That's mostly PC facing stuff. So I think she takes a moment to process what you're saying, and again, very quietly says, "That's my daughter. I don't know those people she's with, but if she's been sneaking over to Seven Roads and doing God knows what," and just kind of trails off after that.
Marv continues to try to keep her. For now, we know she's safe. She is here. Whatever she may have done, she is unharmed. Would you like me to go get her?
I do not wish to cause a scene.
I believe it can be done without a scene. If you
Then
stay here and stay as calm as you can.
I will remain here. And as you stand up, you see that seemingly out of nowhere, Grace has appeared to take your place in the seat across from the queen, and sort of like holding out a hand for her to take. Which gives you the kind of nod of a warrior about to go off to battle.
I return the nod.
Hmm.
And I approach Annie.
Okay.
So,
I'm good. If
for
I'm...
this,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, I was just going to ask. So, so that emotional support role, I am a little confused. The role play is getting to my brain.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I think for the sake of the mechanic, you can get another string on Queen Magdalena.
Okay.
And
does that just get listed below her, or do I like mark the box?
Yeah, you can check the box for the string, and if you want, you can use the influence with a string move to get her to take a particular action at a later time. For now, she seems content to sit and let you handle this quietly.
Okay.
But I did want to briefly first jump over to Val and Devon, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yes.
Val has made everybody's drinks, including that very specific pumpkin spice, before Devon's incredibly simple two-step machine routine. She's handed them out just fine, and then she brings the coffee to Devon, and she like holds it just out of his reach, and what's the currency situation? Is it gold? Is it USD? Bitcoin?
I did largely hand waving. I guess magically people give money and it happens to be right.
Yeah. So she holds it just out of his reach. What's that?
Whatever you want to make it.
Yeah, she just holds it just out of her reach, and she says, that'll be 332.
Yeah, sure. It kind of like fumbles with a wallet and hands over a company card that has Leverage Marketing's logo on it. Val, I didn't expect to see you here.
What are you doing here?
We had the 4 o'clock meeting with a Winter.
She just stares out on him. What's the meeting about, Devon?
Well, oh right. I think this project happened, above you. Sorry, not personal. Just we, Leverage kind of heard about this place. It's very popular, so we were looking to, buy it out and franchise it.
Franchise it. Put this on every. Here's your drink, and she hands it to him, and she goes to the back, heading towards Winter's office, and as soon as she gets out of line of sight, she's like panting, like trying to catch her breath, shaking a little bit, and she goes to talk to Winter about what's going on.
Yeah. Winter has, been in the office for most of the day, just kind of peeking in. You can see just numerous stacks of envelopes with like red angry fonts sort of stamped on them, and they've got like a spreadsheet kind of open, just sort of like doing a bunch of numbers, and are feeling just sort of very stressed and like kind of almost like pull down like a big book and flip it open on top of their desk, covering up everything as you enter.
Hi, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I was just made aware of a meeting between yourself and Leverage, and you're the owner of this place. You know what it needs, what would make things work well, but don't do it. I'm sorry.
There's a brief kind of panicked look in their eyes as they look up to a cat clock on the wall, the one with like the swinging tail and the eyes back and forth, like, oh God, it's 4 o'clock. It's I don't have I don't I'm not ready. I'm not ready for this. Don't do it.
Just tell them to leave. You don't need this. It's perfect as it is.
I mean, I want to think that, Val, and it's been good for a long time, but I don't know if I can keep doing it. It's just I'm very tired. I'm getting too old. I don't know if I can keep doing this.
And I understand that. And I understand that. And that's, you can't work here your entire life. You can't run this place. I've seen what you've gone through. And I've only been here 3 days. Like, I can't know the half of it. I worked there for years. I know this place is a legacy. It's you putting good out into the world, and it'll stay that way even after you leave it, but not with them. Okay. I worked for a takeover of it was sort of a salon, a lot like this, but without the cats and whatever. And it was a lot of money, a lot of promises, and a bigger future. And I just got this from the documents, but Leverage will suck the life out of this place. It will become productive. It will become incredibly successful from a monetary standpoint. They know what they're doing when it comes to extracting capital. But they take more than that. They take the color, the life, the soul out of a place. And there's a reason I left. Okay.
I didn't realize that it was like that. They told me that if there were more places like this, there could be more shelter for cats and more chances to do good for people and to create these communities. But I don't want the life sucked out of this place. This has been my life for so long.
Sorry.
Right. Just the problem is that I don't know what else to do. Who else could I turn this over to? It's always been just me. As employees come and go, but I've always been the one who had to be here to do the hard work. There's no one else.
It's going to sound comical. But in the 3 days I've been here, and there's always the chance that this is some sort of honeymoon period, and it doesn't seem it, but I have felt more comfortable and more at ease at any point in my previous life. I can't offer anything more specific than I will help you however help is needed. And not just me. You talk about employees coming and going, but you have customers who are mainstays of this operation. I wouldn't still be here if I didn't have Marv looking out for me. And Wubsy for all of their eccentricities is a fixture. And Mabel brings a kind of culture to this place that I haven't experienced in Seven Roads. It's seeming like I'm getting a kind of ragtag group together to rally against the evil corporatocracy, and that's exactly what I'm doing, Winter. And I would like to, in a more mechanical sense, so the Seeker has something called commandments, which is our stayovers from their authority. One of mine is always obey said authority. So I would think that I am directly contradicting that, putting myself in the way of this authority action.
Okay. Ooh. So when you break one of your commandants and repudiate it forever, cross it off, mark XP, and we're just going to maybe fast forward the full mechanical bit of this, but your commandment gets replaced with a conviction. So what new conviction have you found that is contrary to always obey the authority?
I think it's that authority only acts in its own service, something to that degree. So she is now aware of that and will act accordingly.
Okay. So, yeah. Having been given this pep talk by someone decades younger and with only a few days of experience under them, Winter kind of rallies for a second. Like they thought that there had been no hope, that there had been no way out besides selling it off to leverage, but you've offered them a new path, and so they stand up, kind of pushing aside the pile of papers and pulling out from one of the desk drawers what looks like one of those large cat toys with a little dangly bit and a mouse at the end, and kind of give it a flick, and it hardens into a long, thin blade that still has a tiny mouse dangling from the handle of it, and says, "You're right. Let's go take that meeting." And so in the interim, while Val was having this rallying emotional moments, what has happened outside?
So there's two things I wanted to do.
Oh, please.
I it might be rewinding a bit, but I didn't get a chance to say it because a lot of stuff was just happening. But I actually was going to, because again, as we are now feeling that tension of everyone's sort of former life being dragged up, knowing that she kind of had the disposition of being the kind of most nervous and the most timid, I was planning on going to check on Val.
Okay.
Oh,
So I'm not going to have changed any of what just happened, but I think Wubbs has like turned down or even off the music that is always following her so that she could kind of listen in on that conversation that just happened.
Mhm.
And that soaring speech of how leverage and their authority would drain the color of this space and how we should fight to continue to be ourselves has just resonated so deeply with Wubbs's very being that I think she is now smitten with Val.
So, what does that mean rules wise? What happens when you become
Yes.
smitten?
Um So, first of all, Val has gained a string on Wubbs. And the question that I am to answer is
Ooh, this is rough.
why do you think they will never be able to accept the real you?
oh,
Yeah.
And I think genuinely what it is what it's kind of always been whenever Wubbs has started getting close to any one person, which is the fact that what draws people to her is this confidence, is this loud, assertive belief in herself. And the truth of the matter really is, she is so desperately worried what people are thinking of her. This is it's not a mask, it's not fake. This is who she is. But she leans into it so heavily as sort of a defense mechanism against that, because
Mm.
what she truly cannot stand is anyone being able to dislike or ignore her.
Nice.
And Val is a very shy and timid person.
Mhm. Wubbs is a lot.
That I am.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to do is just because I like messing with him personally, since my performance has died down, I want to use another of my moves, the constant craving. And because I'm a glutton for punishment, I'm going to ask Frederick what he thought of my performance earlier.
Okay. So, Frederick, never really got your music. It always kind of seemed like Frederick was around you kind of in spite of it. Like maybe was just sort of drawn to a large personality to offset his own lack of. That along with the cravat, like the cravat kind of is his personality in a way. So he straightens that up a little bit and just says to you, it felt out of place for a small cafe like this,
Hmm.
quite out of place.
All right. So I continue to be a glutton for punishment. So I take that as a negative response.
Yeah.
And most importantly, for all of Wubbs' fronting, and as much as she does not like admitting it, her feelings for Frederick haven't fully faded.
Oh no.
No.
There hasn't been enough distance yet. So this will not just be a condition, but this will be a stagger.
Okay. Yeah. So
Um and I
first
don't
mark a condition for that negative reaction.
I think I think just the negative reaction just is a stagger. I don't think it's a stagger on top of it.
That's okay. So yeah, if the reaction is negative, take a condition. If you're smitten, stagger if it's negative.
Okay.
I think it is both.
Okay. I'll take it.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I made-
a glutton for punishment will eat heartily.
I made that bed. So
Yeah. So how does his negative reaction make you feel condition wise? There is angry, frightened, guilty,
Yes.
hopeless, and insecure.
So on first blush, as with anything that comes out of Frederick's mouth, I am immediately angry. And so that is immediately what I'm marking off.
Okay.
Just every single time I hear this man speak, it burns me up.
Okay. And for staggering, when you suffer a physical or emotional blow, choose an option based on the number of conditions marked.
Right. So at the moment,
no,
I have
no
one.
roll on this one. You just pick from
Right.
the one from 0 to 3 list.
Right. I feel like the most in character thing to do here, painful though it may be, is to grin and bear it.
Mark 2 more conditions.
So 2 more. So
Mm.
she's immediately angry at Frederick. This progresses into guilt because his words do sting. That really isn't the appropriate way for someone to be behaving necessarily in this setting. And so Wubbs now feels that she's made everything awkward for everyone who was just coming here to relax. And that then continues to progress to her now feeling insecure that maybe she is the one who doesn't really belong here.
Okay. So we're at 8:40, so I will, we're coming towards a conclusion, but I want to give everybody, I want to give Mabel at least a chance if you have any interaction you want to do with your ex, and same with Marv.
I'm just going to chime in here real quick. We just got another donation putting us over our current milestone.
Oh,
we are currently at
right.
$1,671.
Nice. That's beating your year one record, right?
That is correct.
All right.
Cool. Thank you for all of the donations. We will try to bring in as many of these incentives as we can within this last moments.
Right.
Someone gave advantage to the cats, specifically the magical cats lying around, I think. So expect them to show up at some point with dramatic actions.
Marv wants to let's talk to Annie. So Marv kind of swaggers up to Annie, spreads their arms. You don't belong here, Annie.
Who are you to tell me where I belong? I'm here with my people. This is David. We got coffee once. It's very funny how it happened.
Yeah, I'm sure it's very funny. But you know that this sort of a place, this isn't for you. And I learned something else just recently. I learned, and I'm trying to figure out the mechanic for this. Oh, hey. I think I am trying to entice.
Okay.
I learned that not only do you not belong here in a place like this, Annie, so bright and full of color, but behind me, is your mother, who is queen of a world I didn't know even existed 3 hours. Well, no, not 3 hours. Several days ago. And I felt the power radiating off of her. You never did speak to me about your family. Why was that?
She kind of like looks past you and sees the unignorable presence of Queen Magdalena, large as and regal as she is. Quickly like fumbles, like hides her cell phone like behind her back, and then like tries to pass it around for like a bag or something, and then just settles for like throwing it into a bowl of cat food behind her. That's look, I didn't think you'd get it. Like being
I
from
might
other
not have
worlds
before.
stuff. I thought you were cool about this stuff. Look, I just want to go over to the other world and be boring and not magical all the time. Do you know what it's like to be woken up by fairies? It's annoying.
No, I couldn't imagine what it's like to be like that because you never spoke to me about your past. You always spoke about what you were going to do, what you were going to do, what you wanted to do. And it was always this live, laugh, love, but never anything deeper than that. Sweetie, I know you. And taking in this place, making it and bending it to your will, that's not something that is within you. You are not that evil.
Roll to entice.
With advantage.
All right, we got plenty of it.
That's a 9.
9. All right, so unless okay, so you gain a string on them unless they decide to get flustered and awkward. I think you see her kind of like it's not so much a physical transformation, but like the aura kind of shifts around her. Like part of the heavy makeups just seems to kind of flake off. The big chunky nails kind of like resize into something more natural and wild, and her ears kind of grow subtle curves to them, and she kind of sighs. I just wanted something of my own. I don't want to be princess of some forest. I want a life outside of that. And these nice people in the city said that they could use my talents and my influence, and we could like take over this cafe or whatever and like make more of them.
Okay, I'm taking the string.
Okay.
Now, yeah, and Marv is a little bit freaked out by the transformation, but Marv is trying their hardest to stay cool. Annie, if you don't want to be a princess, ask. You're a princess. You can have literally whatever you want, even if that is just to not be a princess for a while. Have you tried that? An open and honest conversation with your mother, soul to soul.
Queen Magdalena stands up at this point and kind of throws her arms out, and if you're influencing her with the string you just got,
Yes. Yes,
yeah,
I am.
she will kind of break away from this group of two bland men in suits and will run over to the queen, and Grace will kind of, you know, like kind of stands watchful of the people she just ran from. Kind of gives you another nod.
And return the nod.
And lastly, Mabel, do you have anything you'd like to do with Ash or anybody else?
Mabel kind of watches Grace go back over to the queen. For a moment, she feels a little despondent, but then not so much because she realizes that maybe strength in a sword isn't just in a physical combat. It's diffusing the situation and realizing that strength on the inside. And it's something that she's always kind of had an inkling of, but now she kind of realizes too. She does walk over to the table. She grabs her, or actually, I now remember Val brought the drinks over. She's got her large, iced latte. She goes back over to the table, and on her way, she just looks at Ash and smiles. She's like, good to see you again." And she goes back over and sits down, and pets Grog before going back to her book. And she's not being like dismissive of Ash in like a mean way. It's just, yeah. It's just, I'm gonna get back to what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean Ash approached you first to begin with, so I think she does try and follow and
Yeah.
make kind of conversation like, "Hey, didn't expect to
Yeah.
see you here."
Oh yes, I'm a regular here. I come here every day to do research and everything else.
Oh, cool. Cool. I'm just here with some of these suits. We are talking about like an endorsement deal or something, but they said they had to stop in for something real quick.
Oh,
But how
that's
are
good.
you doing?
I'm good. I'm trying to get this podcast off the ground and trying to sort everything out and get that going. So, but it seems things are going well at the gym. Old Foghorn is doing well, and the twins and everything else. So
Yeah, sure. Um, you uh I think it podcasts are really well and good, but I always thought you had a lot of talent and potential. I was always trying to push you out of your comfort zone to do new things. I think these leverage folks are looking for like a social media manager. Like I don't know how a desk job suits you, but it pays really well, I hear.
yeah, I mean, paying is good, but maybe I'll think upon it. I'm not really the social media type for other people.
Okay, cool. Well, are you doing anything later? Maybe if we wanted to hang out like old times.
Yeah, you can always stop off at the gym.
Cool. Um, let's see. Would you say that Ash still has a string over you?
Yeah,
Okay. I'm gonna use your move mirror ball then. I think she's gonna kind of push you a little bit like, no, come on, while they're here. Just go just show them your stuff. I think they'll really be into it.
I suppose I could give him a fair chance, and she'll take the notes, specifically the notes she wrote with her. Yeah, I can meet with them.
Cool, yeah. So yeah, she like kind of looks like she's about to reach for your hand to like walk you over there. Do you let her do it?
No.
All right. Yes. Kind of plays out like it's cool. Okay. Cool.
She purposely shifts her drink to that hand. Like
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Maybe fast forwarding a little bit through the introductions to Devin and Frederick, but yeah, go ahead and roll plus heart for your mirror ball.
Okay. Oh, gotta bring that back up. Oh, an 11.
11. Okay. So yeah, so we each choose one from this list. Yeah, you're in an opportunity to influence the visiting party from Leverage in a certain way. Yeah, how do you think this is going to go? What are you going to use this opportunity to say?
She's going to use the opportunity to, because she really doesn't want to do, she doesn't, I mean, she knows Ash is trying to push her to do the social media thing, but Mabel's more about being her own person. She wants to do this. She wants to do this podcast. And so she's, not knowing what Leverage really is, she's going to approach her like, oh, you should invest in this opportunity. You make a studio and a network of various podcasts, paranormal, true crime, and TTRPG actual plays and stuff like that.
They're very big these days, I hear.
It's very amazing. Almost anything. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so I will pick from the list that your audience is wrapped and interested.
Okay.
You can pick the other option.
Okay. Feelings and sensations linger. For the next scene, spectator may avoid taking one condition by thinking about your presence.
Okay. All right. So you've come in. You've made a good impression. Wow, Millie has a cat wrapped around her head. I'll point that out briefly. And Annie has been evacuated from the group. And it is at this point that Val and Winter emerge from the back room. Winter has a long, thin blade drawn, and still standing behind the counter, kind of just idly, like holds it over her shoulder and say, "I've decided to cancel our meeting. I'm afraid that we won't be selling this place right now." And then kind of looks to you, Val's like, is that good?
That's great. Val's like holding back tears.
I don't know. I think I froze briefly if
Yeah.
anybody said anything. Okay. Cool. Yeah, what did I miss?
Oh, sorry. Val just like doing her best to hold back tears. Says, yeah. We have everything we need right here.
Right. Yeah. As my new employee and saying maybe to your surprise a bit, Val, co-owner have pointed out, we have a community here. We're not just an experience that can be stripped and packaged and sold and just placed anywhere. This is a place where all sorts of people are welcome, gesturing at Wubbs in particular. And that's not something that Leverage stands for, is it?
Mark draws their blade and steps forward. And as their first employee, it is my duty to do as my boss says. Boss?
Seeing sort of everyone getting into their power stance, Wub's gonna stand up. Oh shit, are we doing this? All right, cool. And draws out her sword.
Do I need to show them the door?
Yeah. Mabel, do you want to throw in with this group, or are
Yeah.
you suddenly
she'll,
rethink your allegiance?
no, she'll see everyone else and have her sword appear from her thread yarn sweater sword.
Right. Yeah, seeing the sudden group of people around, blades drawn. I think Frederick and Devin kind of like nod at each other and say in an ominous unison, "We have certain corporate procedures for when negotiations start to fall apart," and it kind of like pull out briefcases, and they like the briefcases kind of like elongate and thin out into just the most bland standard issue off the shelf swords. Consider this a hostile takeover. I think we're going to wrap this up by everybody making a fight roll, and we can just kind of narratively describe how this takeover gets thwarted.
All right.
And the crab's sitting on the fight sheet.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Yeah, we can primarily do a narrative flow of this. So, yeah, just describe your character doing something cool in a fight, and I will respond accordingly.
Marv steps forward. So we've got a 9. Marv steps forward and draws their sword, a katana, aiming to cut the closest pouring to Devin or whichever that is still there. Just follow the fingers, Kitty. Aiming to cut him from shoulder to shoulder with the tip of the blade, and following that up, cutting downwards over their head.
Okay. In a comical sort of cartoon fashion, their nice suit has been just utterly shredded in this T shape, kind of revealing just the most blandest, flat, kind of like gym 2 days a week abs and body. He kind of like looks down, like vaguely embarrassed, but will like in kind of hunching over, like creates an opportunity for Devin or Frederick or whichever one it was. They're kind of interchangeable. Like does like a body roll over his turned back and kind of gives a chop down with the standard issue sword. How do you parry this blow and respond?
Okay, so he's coming down this way.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn my sword and push it up in an ukanagash block, and the momentum of his blade will turn mine here, and I will step forward and cut him.
Ooh. All right. Wubs, what do you do in this fight?
All right, so I have rolled an 11.
Nice.
Which is incredible considering I am currently I'm not currently frightened. Oh. Actually, I'm not currently frightened. Never mind, that's a 13.
Yeah. You're most yeah.
I'm very good at this. So obviously, I'm going to make it personal and focus most of my attacking around Frederick. And as our blades intertwine and as I gradually get the upper hand, I think I am going to use my fight to take that is what is most precious to him, and I am going to rend the lace cravat in twain
Yeah.
directly off his neck as I keep my sword pointed against it.
Yeah. You do like a little W slash like and it just
Yeah. And
explodes.
as I stand there with my sword against his neck, finally, I think I'm finally over you. Get the hell out of my cafe.
Nice. All right. Mabel, what do you do? And I will say for Ash's part, she's kind of like dukes up, not quite sure if this is her fight yet.
Toward Mabel or just toward the others?
Just towards the others, probably not Mabel specifically.
Okay.
Unless you want that to be the case.
No, because Mabel was going to attack not Frederick, but the other guy, Devin. Yeah, and I rolled a 9.
All right.
Because basically, the sword's kind of locked for a second too. Mabel's at the tip, the threads will kind of they'll kind of twist into like a fist, and she'll inch her sword up and just like uppercut him in the jaw.
Nice. All right. And lastly, Val, what do you do to your new home?
Yeah, we've been piling on Devin a bit, and good because he deserves it. Val procures a butter knife as part of the Seekers, not a sword. Just wields it like a knife word, sideways out, blade pointing outward. But she just looks directly at Devin. She says, "Go home. You're done here." Sorry about that.
Yeah. So outnumbered and clearly outmatched, the passion that you brought to bear to defend this place is greater than their current desire for profit and hope to please their employer. So battered and their clothes defaced, conditions inflicted, if that's a thing that happens to NPCs. The Devin and Frederick walk out, metaphorical tails between their legs. Frederick kind of stops in the doorway to turn around and say something when suddenly appearing from above the doorway is a void black cat that all of you have kind of seen out of the corner of your eye in this shop, but have never been able to look at directly. And this black cat just sort of drops down onto Frederick's face and like claws kind of scratching him up before he can drop any sort of bland one-liners. He turns and flees, and the void black cat disappears into wherever it goes when you try to look at it.
Attaboy, Nightshade.
And it's actually I'll leave it up to you, Mabel. Ash was not directly tied to these people. She did not participate in the fight. Is there she turns to leave, but maybe like gives a last look over the shoulder. See you later?
Yeah. See you later.
Cool.
I didn't know it was possible for RPG groups to have a well-adjusted member. Mabel has proved us wrong.
There's always one. Yeah. So with a A bit of damage has been done, mostly, fixable things. Maybe a few bits of furniture got broken or scratched. Maybe some drinks got spilled. But, as winter starts to survey the place and clean up, each of you joins in kind of one by one in helping to set right what was wronged. And the place that you maybe considered merely a place of business where you like to sit and read or talk at the beginning of the day has now become something more. It has become a second home, a place of acceptance and community, and of course, magical cats. And that is Tobean's Cafe. Thank you all for playing. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you for running.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We've run a bit long, but I'm going to give everyone one more time around the horn. Introduce yourselves, talk about the things that you do, and where people can find you. I will go first. That is the natural thing to do. My name. You can find me on Twitter at Danny Plays RPGs. You can find the games I make at DannyMakesRPGs.itch.io. And you can hear me say words on Pod of Wonder, a comedy world-building podcast powered by random Wikipedia articles at Pod of Wonder and wherever podcasts are found. Pass it to Joe.
I just realized I think I follow Pod of Wonder on Twitter. Speaking of, you can follow me on Twitter at official J Blaine. That's BLAINE. Eventually, I might get up and do something with RPGs. You can expect gutter trash cyberpunk from this guy. But as of right yet, that's it. If you want to improve the list, invite me to your actual place and stuff. I'm always available. But thank you very much.
Oh, Al.
Yeah, I'm Al Silver. You can follow me on Twitter at LSWrites. I'm a fiction writer, done some TTRPG stuff. I play Flint on the Champions of Eclipsia 5e podcast. We're currently in between seasons and in between homes right now, but hopefully more news on that soon.
Cool. Violet.
Right. My name is Violet Ayres, or Sparkling Vinegar. You can find my stuff at sparklingvinegar.bandcamp.com. That's vinegar spelled VYNEGAR. Currently, I only have one single on there, but I've got a lot more coming.
Yes. And Melly.
Hi, I'm Melly. You can find me on Instagram at Melly_Leah_. I make lovely resin products that I will be selling eventually. You can get them if you've donated. Well, you might get them if you've donated with the raffle. There's a few of them there. Watch my Instagram for more on that. I am also on Twitter at Melly.Leah. I do martial art things. Those things will be on my Instagram as time goes on. Which right now it's mostly just my cat and my foot.
Awesome.
It gets more interesting, I promise.
Yes.
Less food.
Thank you all once again. This has been Thirsty Sword Lesbians, the second to last game of Meowrathon.
Yes, thank you guys so much. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I had never heard of this game before. Danny was like, "I'll run this," and it's really interesting.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the Cat Cafe is a cozier setting. There's usually
There's usually some form of space opera.
Yeah, like death-defying combat, but just as much emotional intensity.
Nice. Well, cool. Yeah.
There was a lot of times when I was like, do I need to just roll for emotional damage to myself?
Well, yeah. Josh in the comments says he's emotionally tired and he didn't even participate. So you guys did it right. So yeah, stay tuned. One more game of the Meowrathon. We're playing Crash Pandas, where they play a group of raccoons street racing, trying to win a race. So it's going to be interesting. And again, thanks to everyone who donated. We got past our last milestone. The last main milestone is to beat last year at 2155 or at 1671. So it's not too far out of the realm of possibility, but I'm really happy where we're at as we are. So stay tuned at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. Crash Pandas.